Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. For your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is we've decided to talk about. We'll be talking about massage and a lot of other related subjects and a whole bunch of other stuff with my guest, Sofia Vidalis, who is a friend and a professional associate of Mike Height, my nephew, who is also a massage therapist. And he's been talking to me about Sofia for some time. And I won't tell you all the things he said about you, but he thinks highly of you and and your work and who you are personally. So that's why I wanted to have you on the show. How are you feeling right now, right at this moment?
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Are you
pretty
nervous?
good. Oh, I feel pretty comfortable. I have a good relationship with Mike, and I trust him. So.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should be more nervous.
So as you know, the show goes in two major parts. The first part is what I call the bio part, where I talk to you about who you are personally, so the viewers get a chance to know a little about you and have some idea where you're coming from when you talk about your work and other things in the second half of the show. So shall we get started?
Terrific. You bet.
And
Okay.
I got in an email from you your resume and some other notes and prompting thoughts, and there's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about. So let's start with who you are personally, first of all. And your full name is Sofia
I don't know.
Vidalis.
Nikki is my middle name.
Nikki.
Sophia Nikki Vidalis. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I actually used to go by Nikki when I was younger until I got to be in college. And I took on my first name, which is Sophia. Well, that was always my grandmother's name, and I didn't quite fit into that yet. So I used to be Nikki, but that's a past part of my life now. Now I'm Sophia. So.
Yeah, all right. And where were you born?
I was born here in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
I'm an Oregonian.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in St. Vincent's Hospital, just right down the street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1966.
66. It's
Yeah, right the year before the hospital burned down. They burned that hospital down and built a new one
okay.
early in 67. So
I forgot to
I don't
tell you
remember
before we started, I always ask a trick question of my
Uh-oh.
guests that they don't expect. So I can ask it now or ask it later on. When shall I ask you now or later on?
Well, will that affect me? Will I crumble and ruin the whole thing?
But it's up to you. Shall I ask you now or later?
Oh, why not now? Let's just
Okay.
go for it. That's
Why were you born?
why?
Yes.
Well, there was
See?
quite a drive. My mom, my parents are Greek, and my mom is Greek American. She went to visit Greece every year. Well, she met this guy over there, but he was Catholic and she was Greek Orthodox, but he followed her. I guess back in the 60s, if you're Catholic, Greek Orthodox and Catholics couldn't go
Been
together.
there, done that.
Oh, really?
Roman Catholic.
Well, my dad's side is Uniac Catholic, which it's kind of a Greek sort of Catholic.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, he chased her, and I guess the rest is history, even though her family said, no, he's Catholic. But that was back then, so there was something there. That might be why. But there may be a bigger purpose you might be looking for about why I was born.
Yes, so you have an answer to that.
Oh, well, I guess to do the work that I'm doing now, to
Uh-huh.
make life better for myself and other people.
And you're successful at that?
I am.
Yeah.
Well, I keep working on it. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
And do you have a religious preference now? Or do you want to comment about that either way?
Well, I was thinking about that. I don't know if I can really narrow it down to one thing. I have been one thing before, but now I'm a little bit more inclusive to all things,
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's probably called something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a goddess worshiper and all that kind,
Yeah.
I really worship nature, but I'm very thankful and pray to God, but I don't know. You know, I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to limit myself to something.
Uh-huh. I was reading somebody's history the other day on my computer, and one of the things he said was, "My religion now is doing good."
Ooh, I like that.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, I like that.
I gotta remember who it was who said that. My religion now is doing good. That just supersedes all organized religions and all that kind of stuff. So, and you had a lot of education to do with your profession, and you want to make a few comments about that or not?
Well, it's funny. I started out as a business major, and I was going to be an accountant, and I'm, you know, really into numbers. And then I had a time in my life, I think around when I had my son, I was 21 years old, I switched completely to the other side, you know, with massage and things that are less measurable, more, you know, things that are more feeling based and things like that. And I became a massage therapist. And my career has just kind of kept going. I didn't really think it through. I didn't think, oh, I'll be a massage therapist 20 years later. But so
You've been at it that long.
I have almost 20 years. It's well, I started teaching. That's how I met Mike, when I was teaching, and the teaching really helps re-inspire you over and over. So that's I think I attribute my longevity to the teaching.
Do you think you'll be changing professions in the near future?
Well, I was a little afraid to talk about that because someone I know might be watching, and I'm really afraid to tell my patients that.
Well, all right.
But
no,
I
okay.
am ready for my next career to come in the next couple years. Yeah. Yeah, so.
Don't forget, if I ask you a question that you don't want to answer, just say, let's pass on
very
that.
concerned about that. I'll do massage for a long time, but I'm open to something new too.
Do you have a partner, a boyfriend, girlfriend, or wife, or husband, or something?
I do. I have a partner. He's a nice guy, Steve. We've been going out for 9 years.
9 years?
I know. I know. Yeah. He's a chiropractor. So we're similar in our, you know, we do body work and we help people, and we've got a lot of, you know, injured people coming to us and people in their issues.
Sure.
So we have a lot in common.
So will you look at that camera and tell Steve how you feel about him?
Oh, wait.
Say, Steve, tell him.
Okay, well, that's really on the spot. But, and he probably knows, but I adore Steve. I adore you, Steve. And you're also, I admire you. And sometimes you drive me crazy, but I'm learning a lot from going out with you.
That's
So
more
really,
than I
I'm learning
hoped
a lot.
for. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, back to us now. And you have the one son.
I do. Yeah, and Steve's got 2 kids, so I've been able to, you know, help parent them also. But I do have one son, and he's great. I'm really proud of him.
And where is he now?
He lives here in town, also in Portland. He's planning to move to Seattle, and he just got engaged, so I'm really excited about that. And I'm so glad they're just moving to Seattle, because, you know, if they're moving to New York or London or something, that'd be much further. Yeah, Seattle's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And do you have brothers or sisters?
I do. I have a sister, Georgie, just one sister.
Where is she?
She's here too. She's in Gresham. She's got kids, and we're similar also.
What does she do?
She has a couple different jobs. She works at Multnomah Falls.
Oh, yeah.
And that's always great because we get to go
Yeah.
out there. I feel great because we're really Oregonians and Portlanders and all these historical things we've been involved in. And she also works with the Portland Trailblazers too, which that's a seasonal thing because of the games and stuff.
Is she as pleasant as you are to visit with?
Well, yes.
Yeah. All right. Any memberships in political, social, or civic organizations worth mentioning?
Well.
Professional organizations, or?
Not necessarily. Just the things related to massage. That I don't always join things. I mean, I've participated. I volunteered for the Democratic Party for years, and I I used to work for Greenpeace. I used to be much more political than I am now. Now I'm not so involved. Well, I'm involved, but I don't know. I'm a little more concerned about committing to things.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be associated with, with certain things.
Yeah, there's so many things to be involved with if you have social responsibility or social concerns.
Yeah.
And you look like you're that kind of a person. And
yeah, lately I'm much more involved with my direct community.
Mm-hmm.
With my, I'm in the South Portland Business Association and near my office and things like that in my, direct community.
I've got to confess to my viewers, this is
Uh-oh.
probably contaminated this interview because Mike, my nephew, who's your friend and associate, has gifted me and my wife Pat with a massage that you'll be giving us next week.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Looking forward to it.
I'm very excited. And I thought, well, maybe I should bump it up to earlier before the appointment, rearrange my schedule, so then you could brag about the massage. But
I'll brag about it after the fact.
Okay, great, thank you.
From what I hear, I'm sure I will be bragging about it. Any persons from the past, any human beings from the past are alive today that you particularly admire or look up to? Any names come to mind for you?
Well, I guess I'll have to think about that. I'll want to come back to that.
Sure.
Yeah. I like Obama's wife.
Michelle?
Oh, yeah, that's her. Yes, I like her.
Why?
She dresses nice.
You're a woman.
I know. And I liked, you know who I really liked? I liked Lady Di. I was really surprised. I was really sad when she passed away, but that's been a long time, 96, I think.
Yeah, well, it still has an effect. When I think about it, too, I feel sad about it, too.
Yeah.
Because she was a very concerned human being for fellow humans, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some people that I think that have passed away that I have more. Like, John Lennon, he died. The anniversary of his death was just a few days ago. And I liked what he had to say, just that rebellious thing. And who else has passed away that I was really sad when Michael Jackson died. I thought he was really revolutionary. And so now I can only think of the people that have passed away, but the current people, I'll think of some current people that are doing.
See, I've been doing this for so many years, and I've had a chance to practice, but sometimes I volunteer the people from the past that I like or admire, so I know how to do it. And of course,
Great.
my latest
That would
one
help
is
me.
Nelson Mandela.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And of course, Jesus and Gandhi and Martin Luther King.
Definitely.
And those are really people who walk the talk of being loving, kind human beings. And I kind of model myself after that. And I'm a long ways away from achieving half of their self-awareness and kindness and loving ability. But I'm still learning.
Me
still
too.
growing
Oh,
up.
that's great. I'm glad you mentioned those people, especially Martin Luther King. He was very transparent and open. I knew a lot more about his life. But Nelson Mandela, I've learned so much about his life just in the past week or so since he passed away. There's a lot of things I didn't know about him.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I didn't really think of him as a politician and a lawyer and all those things that I might stereotype as being not as humanitarian. But there's a lot about his life that I think is a mystery that we're just finding out about.
Yeah.
Or at least me. I didn't study it, I
Neither me.
I held him up there like, yeah.
So, in your resume, you start off by saying experienced and passionate licensed massage therapist. What does that mean, passionate licensed massage therapist? How is that different from just a massage therapist?
Well, I'm so honored and thankful to get to massage people. It's just really an honor. I mean, each year that's gone by that I've got to massage, you know, of course you get paid. You get paid for your hour or your time, and that's the pay is just like icing on the cake, because it's just such an honor to massage people. You know, people really deserve it, and it's so rewarding. I just didn't expect that. I didn't expect that I would feel so rewarded, you know, by,
Yeah.
you know, just, it's kind of like patting people on the back, saying, there, you know, and people deserve that. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. I'm very lucky.
The magic, you know, I'm a clinical psychologist, you know.
Oh, good.
The magic of touching, like when you were talking about, and you reached over and touched my shoulder, something happened to me just in that moment. In addition to our conversation and us looking at each other, the act of physically touching a fellow human being, yeah, so there's something that goes on very special here that we can't quite register from up here, but we can feel it, I think.
It's actually they're researching it a lot more, and actually they've been researching touch for a long time, but and massage therapy even more so. That, you know, I've always sort of poo-pooed evidence and research. It's important. But I knew, like you were saying, there's this other world that we just know, but all those things they're researching now and documenting more, and I'm excited to be a part of that. For a while I was, you know, research
too far out.
Yeah. But I did reach over and touch you, but usually I ask people first if I can touch you.
But you knew I would be
Yeah.
okay with me. I'm very touchy-feely.
Oh, good.
Let's see, what else can I ask you? What's most important nowadays to pay attention to in our life, in the world? Any thoughts come to mind that's most important to be concerned about?
Well, along the same lines we've been talking about recently, just about staying connected with people. And, you know, you're a psychologist, so you have more experience, but tuning into yourself, you knew how you felt right away. And I've had to work at that, and I think a lot of us have to work at that. Just being aware of yourself, and you knew how you felt, and you communicated it. And a lot of us don't have that. So I think it's important to, you know yourself. And that's a good place to start as far as, what we started with, doing good. You know, you think, oh, that's a given, but it takes work. Doing good and continuously reminding ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and cleaning up our lives to simplify so we can do more good.
To unlearn some of that stuff we learned
Yeah.
early on. That's not working so good nowadays.
Yes, I like that.
What's right with America nowadays? A couple thoughts, one or two. What's right with America?
Well, I kind of like all this change that's going on. Things are kind of, our feathers are ruffled up. We don't know ourselves anymore. And I think that's a good place to be, because you can create something neat from that.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, it's uncomfortable, but at least it's happening.
Yeah.
And I'd complain about the social media and on Craigslist and all that, but there's a silver lining, because we're still, magical things are coming out of that too, and I didn't expect that. So.
Okay, the other side of the coin. What's wrong with America nowadays?
Ooh, well.
You might have one or two or nothing to say about that.
You know, I think there's kind of an evil corporate takeover happening. It's a little embarrassing how the corporations are, you know, just the money is just taken over. I mean, everyone's always known that greed is this kind of terrible thing and these terrible people, but now it's just infiltrated us like an alien or something, and so it's a little bothersome. It's a little bothersome, just the accountability and you know, there's a lot of big messes, and it's scary. So, but I don't want to get too alarmed.
How do we fix that? Have you thoughts about that?
Well, there's a part of me that wishes, well, I don't really want to say that, but I think there may be some kind of catastrophic things that happen to sort of clean things out. I don't really know. I don't know if we can back up from some of the ways we've, you know, in the directions that we're going. I'm not sure if it's easy to back up. So we might have to, you know, like the Wall Street thing, for example, you know, we didn't learn from that. I don't know that we've necessarily learned from it, even though it's been terribly painful and people are getting poorer and more, you know, oppressed and all that. But I don't know that we've learned from it. So we may need a more, a little bit more tragedy or something more. I just don't want to say it, but something a little more shocking, because it was shocking. We're like, oh, this is shocking. How could this be? But it wasn't shocking enough, evidently, to have people wise up. I mean, we are wising up, but I don't know if we can get it collectively and move forward soon enough.
And who's the we you're talking about? You're talking about we right now.
Well,
I'm leading into something, as you know.
well, I hate to say like the 99% because that's so,
see,
you know, cliche.
I guess.
But because I think generally people are pretty good. People are pretty good people. You know, but I don't know.
I don't know either, but I have some ideas. And
oh, you do? What do you could probably sum it up a little better.
Yeah. There are different classes of human beings. Just looking at it in America now, there's a class conflict always going on, it seems to me. And the 1% of the 1%, the super rich, have much more control over what we can do and what we should be doing to make our lives better, and to stop people from getting poorer and poorer and having such a huge difference in their ability to take care of themselves. But this is your show, and I'm on my soapbox again, so I'm going to come off.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I do think there could be some people that are super rich that care about the planet, and that there's probably lots of people in the 99% that don't or aren't able to, or so.
And why is that? People behave according to what they've learned.
Maybe.
And I think the media has a huge responsibility, and it's neglecting its responsibility.
Sort of, the media has a responsibility, but I think the media could just be a product of us.
Who owns the media? You and I, us, 99%. The super rich own the media.
Sure. But I think we have to take some responsibility in creating that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of gotten out of control, but we are a part of it. Not that we deserve that because we created it, but I think we got to own it a little more.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think I got an answer from that question. What do you mean by a passionate licensed massage therapist? What's a passionate licensed massage therapist?
I love my work. I love my work, and I'm open to doing whatever it takes to be better and serve people. And, you know, I wake up excited. You know, I'm tired, and I've got the same issues as everybody else. And, you know, I'd rather be in Hawaii or whatever, but I don't know.
Yeah. I bet you've got some stories about some of your clients and what's going on in your work.
Sure.
And I have some stories, too, about my practice. I haven't practiced for 22 years as a psychologist.
Oh, really?
But I've got some stories about my years of the different kinds of people I meet. That would be interesting to talk about, but not now, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe if we have time, you'll tell us a story or two about some of your adventures. You talk about, you're not on Facebook. Why aren't you on Facebook? Neither am I.
Oh, you're not? I was wondering. I was looking for your Facebook. Yeah. You know, I like this face-to-face thing, and you know, I just don't want to get swallowed up by it all. You know, I don't want to be on the computer all the time. You know, it can drive you crazy, and I need to stay calm so I can help my patients.
But you're so young, and you only when you get to be my age, you anti-computer, but you're so young and you.
Yeah.
But I like it.
There's a lot of social pressure, though. I feel like, oh, am I missing out on something?
Yeah.
You know, people say, oh, look, he was on Facebook. So,
So when you're talking about religion, you said, I'm sort of all things, religion-wise. So, and agnostic and atheist and all those kinds of things. You became a vegetarian. And I like that, sort of all things. And I think I mentioned earlier, my religion is doing good.
I like that.
Me. Yeah.
I like that. What I like about being all things is that I can take from each religion and celebrate different things.
And there's a certain commonality, I think, in all religions and what their goals are, what their aims are. It's just a journey along the way. The human being element gets involved, and they contaminate or do something with the founders of these religions that were idealistic. And that's why I think I'll still be a humanist from now on, or
Oh, nice.
living lovingly instead. You started reading books when you were 4 years old. How come you started reading so young?
Well, actually, one reason was I told you my parents got married. You know, they got married and had me, and my dad, who came from Greece, he was learning how to read at the time. He was learning English when I was just a little kid. So I think that's one reason I started early reading. And also, like I said, I had this kind of like mathematical brain type of person, which is a strength, but can also be a weakness, you know, that thinking.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of books in my early life, and then, like you said, a few things I'm kind of unlearning, and now I just put the book under my pillow and just get it that way. I've read a lot of books already.
So, you said 2 or 3 times about your Greek heritage, and this doesn't connect with anything we've said so far, but it's come up in my mind a couple of times about about the Greek and Costa Gavras. You know who he is?
Costa? No.
Costa Gavras. He's had a series of movies over the years about revolutions around the world. He's a very left, progressive movie maker. Google Costa Gavras, and there's a lot more I can say about that, but my mind's going like crazy. But my favorite movies, all through the years, he's been one of my favorite producers of all time. Costa Gavras, yeah.
One of my favorite poets, Olga Bromas. She was a poet from around the time of, I think, the Second World War, and she has similar poetry. A Greek poet. Her name's Olga Bromas, and I'll look up Costa. That's interesting.
Costa Gavras. You want to write it down?
Yeah. Well, I might just go back and look at it on the show, or
Okay.
maybe just I'll write it down. I would love to read about that. Like I said, though, I'm a lot less political because I can sometimes get a little outraged and just a little, you know, I've got to try to stay calm.
So it looks like it's about time to take a break and catch our breath. Otherwise, the director is going to yell at me. So shall we take a break now, Mr. Director?
great.
Hello, thank you for staying tuned to Conversations with Dr. Don. For your first-time viewers who tuned in late, Conversations with Dr. Don that you're watching is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and about whatever it is that we decided to talk about. And my guest this evening, Sophia Vidalis, massage therapist, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and we've had a good time talking about who she is personally. Now we're going to go more generally into other things that are worth talking about right now. So, what do you think of Nelson Mandela?
Well, you know, I'm sure he was amazing, and like I said, there's a lot of things I didn't know about him.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I didn't know about him. You know, I really admire him, and being in jail for 27 years.
Can you imagine that?
I can't imagine that, and so, you know, I'm thankful he was here because he carried the torch for a lot of, you know, that's light the way. So.
Yeah. And do you hazard talk about President Obama and how do you think he's doing? You like him or don't like him or what?
Well, darn, you know, I don't want to say anything, but it's not nice. But
you could have mixed feelings about him too.
Yeah, mixed feelings. There you go.
I do.
You know, I was there. Of course, we were all there when he was elected, and that was a fantastic night.
It was unbelievable.
It was incredible here in town. And, you know, I think he's probably got a lot of pressure and all that, and he looks like he can, his hands are tied and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But really, bottom line, I think he's one of them.
Yeah.
Really? You know, I hate to say it.
It makes me sad to say that because did you see his speech at the ceremonies honoring Mandela after he died just the other day?
You know, I didn't see that.
Fantastic. The best speech he ever gave.
Oh, great.
To get a chance to hear it, and it's very, very moving. What's sad for me is that he has all these idealistic ideas, and I think his heart is in the right place, but he is obliged to compromise enough so that he can have enough support to get some of his work done, and he's trying to do the impossible to resist the intent of the Republican Party to destroy his presidency so that he can't be reelected again. His heart and his mind is in the right place, but he's being forced to compromise. And sometimes people get upset when I say one of the reasons he's compromising his core principles is to stay alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. Well,
we've killed presidents before.
I mean, I certainly don't want anybody to be killed.
No.
But, I mean, I don't know, like I was saying before, one of those catastrophic things that could wake us up a little more.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want anything to happen to people, but I was kind of hoping in his second presidency, since he sort of didn't have anything to lose, that he would, you know, move forward a little bit on a few things, but
if he moves too far forward, that illustrates my point that they'll find some way to shut him up. But let's not go there anymore.
Well, yeah. So, you know, it's been a good thing, but it wasn't enough in my book, and so, you know, I'm hoping it continues in that direction. But
okay. Next subject. How about Medicare for all? The state of health care in America.
Well, yeah.
Do we need some changes or not?
I think so. I think the Affordable Care Act is kind of just more of the same, really. You know, it's complicated and it's, you know, a step in the right direction, but maybe kind of using a sort of broken system. And so,
yes, I agree.
Yeah, you know, it's a good effort, but yeah, it's a little embarrassing, you know, looking at the rest of the world. I feel embarrassed, you know, around the healthcare, and that's why I feel so rewarded as a massage therapist. I'm so honored because I know it's kind of on all of our shoulders, this challenge of healthcare and stuff like that. So, you know, I'll do my part with each person and hope that gets better. You know.
It comes down to what I can do personally, and anyhow. let's continue on. Which is more important, gross domestic product or personal happiness index? And there is another scale. It's the personal happiness index is not the correct term for it. Some sort of happiness index as compared. The idea being if you consider as your most important consideration in governing a people is personal happiness rather than gross domestic product. What do you think about that idea? What do you think is most important?
Well, I guess I'd say both. I mean, everybody says both, but I think that we're seeing clearly more and more in corporations and down to families that people's happiness is important, and that will lead to higher productivity. So I think the two are connected.
I never heard it put quite that way before. Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel I mean, I've always felt that's important, and I'm finding that lots of other companies and organizations are finding the same. Even I work at the university, and there's a whole new push for wellness and people being supported, and I notice it happening. So I mean, I worked at, let's see, I used to work at Nature's before they turned into New Seasons.
Yeah.
And it was a really hard job. It was always really busy, but they had the best Christmas party, and they gave the employees a generous discount, and I loved going to work every day.
Those are health food stores, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're seen around the world, you know, and all over the country this show is.
Oh, health food stores, right, yes. Oh, we're so lucky here. We've got excellent food in Portland. But anyway, I've experienced it working for people and companies that care about their employees. You get a lot more done. You have less injuries and all kinds of things. And then I've worked at other jobs that I just couldn't stand to go into, and I tried to do as little as work as possible and get the heck out of there. And so I really think the two are connected.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time that we really just embrace that. And I feel like we'll be more, you know, we're just sort of spinning our wheels a little bit as far as productivity and things like that. And so I think it's coming.
Yeah. Do you think there's such a thing as climate change, or is it just a creation?
Well, I think that the Earth is undeniably challenged. The resources have been, there's just no denying it. As far as the weather change, well, I think that's probably happening too. I mean, the weather change is just a symptom of another problem. You know, the weather change, it could become uncomfortable for us. I think there's ways to address it, but I think there's still an underlying problem of...
Well, for me, there's weather and then there's climate.
Oh, yeah.
The weather changes during the course of the year, and it seems like the record shows that there's been serious change over a long period of time. But what's happening with the Earth's climate nowadays and the melting of the ice caps seems like it's beyond just a normal every 1,000-year cycling going on.
Oh, I agree. I'm sure of it. I've always thought that, but I thought it was hilarious that there's a big debate. There's all this energy wasted on the debate rather than, you know, like I said, the underlying problem, the challenge of, you know, just grabbing all the resources, just the greed, and we're paying the price. We're paying the price. I'm not involved in the the conversation about climate change, whether it's happening or not. I'm more involved in the, you know, the more underlying problem of the resources and stuff.
Fossil fuels.
Yeah.
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 Now, we've got a few notes from you about what we can talk about in addition to what we were talking about so far.
Well, what's connected to what you're talking about is, you know, I don't know if you've noticed the price of gas is going down again. You know, and I just don't think that's a good sign. I know people like that. They're like, oh, good, I get cheaper gas. And because I used to pull up and it was like $80. And I was like, are you kidding? Or, you know. But I think that reflects, you know, sort of a cover-up or an ignoring of a problem. I mean, I think it should be up around $5 a gallon. Now, nobody wants to hear that, but it's embarrassing how cheap it is here. Have you noticed that?
Some people accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist, but I believe the fluctuation in gas prices are being managed by those people who are the fossil fuels industries. They say, well, gasoline prices are going up or down because of this, that, or the other. I think it's beyond that.
I agree.
We need to get off of fossil fuels. So what do you think of that?
I like that idea. I like that idea. You know, they have they use the vegetable oil and lots of different, and car sharing. I love those ideas. I love those ideas. You know, ways to. I agree. It's not the gas prices itself isn't exactly the problem. It's a whole other problem. You know, different fuels. I like that. That's terrific.
And you talk about the challenges of our current food supply. What are some of the challenges of our current food supply? And what do you mean our current food supply in this country?
Oh yeah, in this country especially. Well, you know, they talk a lot about the GMOs. That's a concern.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a really messy, messy problem. You know, I think I'm excited that the discussion about the food, it's all out there now, more. It's a lot, it's more out there.
Yes.
You know, but I think some of the things we've been doing with the food, doing to the food, and we're experiencing some health ramifications from that. You know, our personal health, but then also back to what you were talking about, the health of the planet. You know, they're all connected. But our personal health, you know, there's really some epidemics going on of the obesity. Everybody talks about that, but you know, cancer and Alzheimer's, and I'm particularly concerned about autism. Lots of children now being born with autism, and
why do you think that is?
You know, I really feel it's connected to the food supply. You know, I think, well, not only the food supply. I mean, there's other theories out there like mercury in the water and
of course.
Other things, but I really find our health has deteriorated since, maybe the past 100 years. They say now that 60% of food is processed food. And I think people predicted that this would happen in the early 1900s. People like Royal Lee and Kellogg and those guys, just in the Americas, predicted that people would be having, you know, epidemics of health problems, and now we're faced with that. And I think the food is, you know, I go into the grocery store and there's not a whole lot of real food anymore. And yeah, part of it's education, part of it's economics, and you know, we've got ourselves in a pickle.
Do you think genetic GMO foods, the result of eating those for some time, is having some sort of an effect, like in our offspring and autism and those kinds of things? The genetically modified foods have affected our health, generally speaking?
I do believe that. I think it's pretty hard, though, to get any research in because, like you were saying earlier, the corporation's kind of control. It's just a crime how...
What about some of the efforts around the country to pass laws forbidding listing that your food is not genetically modified, because the food producers, conglomerates, don't want us to know that they modified the food.
Yeah, it's very scary. It's a little scary that that these corporations or the big money can control these, what people want or what they're demanding. You know, it's just shocking. It's really shocking. And I think it shows that people, or that these companies aren't necessarily being truthful when they are recruiting people or having people sign up for the, you know, to vote for these things, that they may not be getting the full information.
No, they're not.
Yeah, and so I try not to be too concerned about it, but I mean, because then, like I said, I don't want to be overwhelmed with fear and upset, but it is concerning.
How about your personal eating habits? Do you have any things that you are particularly concerned about in your everyday eating?
Yes, well, like I said, I have been a vegetarian. I've, been really into natural food, but I'm not immune to wanting to be comforted by food. And so I'm writing.
Comforted sugar.
Oh, well, there's a lot of interesting history about how we're all really addicted to sugar, and
Yes.
they really put it in the food. I mean, I hate to say they did this, they did that, but someone, got everybody really addicted to sugar, and it's everywhere, and it's challenging. I mean, if you ever tried to eat no sugar in a day, it takes a lot of work.
And sugar isn't really a food anymore. By the time you take a natural food and process it and extract the sugar and leave the nutrients and stuff behind, it is then a chemical. It isn't a food. So we're ingesting chemicals and we're labeling it or calling it food. It isn't food anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I resort to, or maybe not resort to, but what I use a lot is prayer. I pray over my food as often as I can, because if I, like I said, I try to eat all this perfect food, and I grow a garden and do everything I can do, but sometimes it's not a good time to figure out what you're going to eat when you're hungry. What am I going to eat? It takes a lot of planning and all that. So in a pinch, I'll just pray over my food and ask for help from God.
But see, I am now a skeptic. And if praying over your food convinces you that it's useful for you, for me, that doesn't cut it for me, because I'm not sure, yes or no, that there's a God even, but prayer doesn't do it for me. I want to stay more on the practical level and look at what I'm eating and have those things I can control or control, rather than hoping for some divine intervention to take care of me when I'm ingesting too darn much sugar and too much crap and too much GMO stuff, But that was a little challenge. We've been doing a kumbaya all evening. We have a little fight here,
Well, I understand. I hear what you're saying. But what about if people invite you over and serve you some nice food that they made?
I love it, yeah.
I mean, are you going to be checking the ingredients and,
No,
stuff like that? Or, if you're out to a restaurant.
And if they pray over the foods, I just keep my mouth shut and bow my head and hold hands and say, okay, you.
So you think praying is like hoping?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't want us to ignore those things I can do.
Yes, I agree.
And depend on the magic of prayer.
Yes.
Pardon me, I shouldn't say the magic of prayer. I'm a recovering Roman Catholic. I was an altar boy for years.
Oh, really?
Heavens, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to do whatever I can in every situation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Love one's self.
Yes.
Yeah,
and plan ahead. Make a list. Think things through, as far as your shopping list and things like that, to make it easier and healthier. But in the times that you're not, which you may not be, you may have a total perfect diet, but some people are
wishful thinking.
So yeah.
So what else? We're running out of time. So let's see if you might think of one or two clients over the years that were unique, and something about them, you don't say their name or anything about them, that people will recognize them, that would be of interest to the viewers in your work and doing massage.
Well, the funny thing is, I do have interesting patients, and lots of people are in general pretty kooky. Most people, And my whole role with massage is to help people feel normal and feel better, But who's really crazy, I have my students, and they're students nowadays. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think it's going to be a really funny thing here in the future with all these young massage therapists. And when you do massage, you have to set yourself aside just during that hour,
Of course.
and be there for someone else.
Yes.
But I think a lot of the young people nowadays have a little harder time with that. And this one student I had in particular, and this isn't the only time this has happened, you know, and I let them know that. I said, okay, you know, you've got things on your mind, you set that aside and you listen to the person. I help them with their patients. Well, and one of my jobs is the student receives their patient, they get them ready and do their massage, and I knock on the door and I say, can I come in and help? Well, I go in, and this gal, she's giving a massage, but she's got one hand doing the massage. In one hand, she's checking herself in the mirror and looking at her phone and, you know, like this, trying to, and doing the massage. So I
can't believe that.
I know, and I thought, you know, oh, it's just, okay, well, it's just during this time, even 50 minutes focus on someone else. Because people are, like I said, everyone's awkward and, you know, people are challenged and they deserve massage. But the students are definitely, a lot of them are the ones that make me a little crazy. Yeah, I'll have to think of some wacky patients, but people are wacky.
I used to go to massage schools for my regular massages at least once a month. And I had, of course, I couldn't have the same masseur or massage person every time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a chance to consider who was good and who wasn't good. And now and then there'd be somebody just now and then who was just outstanding.
Yeah.
And I want to know, I want this person back again. And a couple of times I tried to get a way of contacting them because I wanted to go to them when they graduated from school.
Mm-hmm.
But they had something more than just what they learned to do with their hands. There's something about their whole being. I felt them.
Mm-hmm.
And the body felt good, and the spirit felt good. And you see, I do recognize the spirit.
Great.
But I've had some wonderful experiences with real good massage therapists. But I wonder if I had met this person, this particular masseur who was that good, in another context other than doing a massage, if we had taken the time to just hang out with each other and be in each other's presence and experience each other, if I were to have the same thing happening. There's so much going on in this whole human animal in me that's beyond description or beyond considering with this neocortex now. I just know when it happens, and
I know what you mean, though. I know what
what
you mean. I know what you mean, and that might help people a little bit more. You know, like we were talking about before, just about the connecting. One of the things about Facebook and all that is we're not connecting as much. And so, you know, I think that some of the younger folks sometimes have a hard time connecting. But if you can get that connection going, you know, there's the magic you were talking about. And the massage turns out great. The conversation turns out great. It just, something else helps it. But, yeah.
We're running out of time. We've got a couple more minutes left to talk. Do you have any thoughts or comments about anything that's going on right now between us, or that would be of value to the viewers? Talk to them.
The viewers, well, let's see.
What's your message to them about anything you want to say?
Well, I definitely recommend counseling. Like you were saying, you're a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's areas people are dissatisfied, don't be afraid to go to counseling, because we all need each other. You know, and they go to a licensed counselor, but they can also, where I've gone is I went to PSU, the counseling center, and go with the students.
Portland State University,
yeah,
PSU.
it's only $15. $15 a session, and it's just helped tremendously. You know, and I recommend that people also go, you know, try the schools for acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, and a naturopathic college. These places are a great, affordable place to try out some of these things. Because we need support.
Yeah.
We need support as human beings. And it's okay to need support and support each other. You know?
And there's various levels of ability and capability in those people, no matter all those people you said you can go to, organizations. There's still, now, I know psychiatrists and psychologists through the years that I wouldn't refer my dog to.
Right.
They're licensed and professional, right?
Right.
So it's a matter of the personal thing that goes on inside of an individual, and you can connect that way. And you've been talking about food, and I'm getting hungry, and my blood sugar's dropping, so I'm getting hungry. So we better start winding down. Mr. E, let's get ready to wind down. Let's see, what else can I say to you? It's close to time for us to stop visiting and get ready to say goodnight. Keep your pens and pencils handy because you may want to jot down something. Well, my director says I should tell you about public service announcements. There's one on the board now.
Great.
To get the Dr. Don local broadcast schedule, go to my website and click on present day activities. And next, when you watch my shows on the web, go to www.donbaham.com and click on favorite links. It's another way of watching my shows. And the American Civil Liberties Union. Our civil liberties are in jeopardy nowadays with the way things are running in our government. We need our civil liberties protected. Without the ACLU, we'd be in much worse shape than we are in now. Go to that website and learn more about the ACLU. And to get my shows broadcast by other stations around the country, ask your local public access station where you're watching this show to go to www.pegmedia.org and follow the instructions there to have my shows broadcast from your local area. And we got to end corporate personhood because corporations are not persons and money is not speech, and our country is going down the tubes because of the powers of corporations. We've got to bring those under control. And what else can I tell you? Rest in peace, People's President Nelson Mandela. It should be Mandela, not Madela. What else can I say to you? Oh, thanks for watching. And remember KFC. Remember KFC. No, not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind, be friendly, and be charitable. To you too. And you too. You too. And you too.
Great.
Thanks again for watching, and thanks for coming on, and good night.